Hi, welcome to IGL Disrupt 2020 Reconnect. I'm Trent and Ty, and I will be walking you through ControlUp and what we can offer for your Citrix and VMware environments, along with what we offer for our IGL integration. So, IGL monitoring everything you've been missing. So, IGL, with thin clients and endpoints in general, have had some poor monitoring on those devices. So, for instance, if you have a thin client or an endpoint that is running poorly, the original idea of them is that they're so thin that they have so little software on them that the performance degradation must be happening on the server end or wherever your workload is being run. But in reality, these are computing processing devices, and with features that include offloading to the endpoints, that there is some processing that must occur. And so are they powerful enough to do this? Is there performance degradation that could happen when you start enabling some of these advanced features? And we've been blind to that for a long time. But with ControlUp monitoring your IGL endpoints, we now have the capability of seeing into those devices so you can actually measure the performance of them. Does enabling some of these more complex or advanced features have an impact on your endpoints? And so we'll get into that in a second. So first, I want to give just a little bit overview of ControlUp and who we are and what we do. So we do monitoring and management of your devices. That includes your IGEL devices all the way to the Citrix servers or VMware servers or your Microsoft WVD servers. And so ControlUp, we're a venture-backed company with self-sustaining business growth, and we have 1,000+ customers worldwide today, and growing every month, every quarter, every year. And so a little bit about ControlUp first. This is our architecture diagram for how our product operates. So you can see the console on the left side. This is where a lot of the work is actually done, where you can manage your devices. You can actually monitor them visually and actually see the red, yellow, green status of those devices themselves. So we've got ControlUp monitor clusters that actually can connect into all your monitor devices as well. And they're essentially the headless portion of ControlUp that connects in and does that monitoring, that 24/7 monitoring for them. You can see underneath at the bottom here all of the different resources we can monitor. So for your VDI, we do Horizon and Citrix XenApp and our Citrix virtual apps and desktops. For your virtual servers, we can do web servers, database servers, application servers, profile servers, storage servers, things like that. We connect into the Citrix ADC today, so we can monitor what was called the NetScalers and some of those performance metrics in there, and actually take management actions there as well. We can monitor physical servers, and then obviously through API integration, we can do VMware, vSphere, Nutanix, Citrix, Hyper-V. We can connect into Amazon EUC web services, and we can also, through the EUC connector and API connections, we can monitor Horizon and Citrix virtual apps and desktops. Not shown here, though, is we can also monitor your endpoints like your IGEL devices. So this is what we're all excited about. I only have a short period of time, about 20 to 25 minutes, so let's get into this real quick. So let's get into the demos of ControlUp. So this is the ControlUp platform here. Once you've installed the product, and it's a portable application, so if you know what that means, it means you can take this executable and just take it, copy it anywhere, and just run it, and you can get the full-fledged ControlUp experience no matter where you go. There's no installer to be done for the console side. It's just like a portable app, one of those beautiful little pieces of software that is very easy to move around. So what we're looking at is we're looking at our Acme environment here at ControlUp. And once you've added your hypervisors, you can see that we support all the different types of hypervisors. You get this type of view. So we can see the host view and how the hosts are all operating within ControlUp. So we've got one particular machine here, VM host 1, and you can see that we've actually got it color coded based on stress levels. So we can see that there's no stress on these particular hosts, medium stress here, and high stress here. So this particular host is under some level of duress. So if I click on this little 3 dots here, it'll actually tell me what is contributing to that stress. So we can see we've got memory and data store read-write IOPS. So because our lab isn't the biggest lab, consumed memory being quite high is actually pretty normal. and what we're used to. But the data store rewrite IOPS is unusual. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little icon here, and this is our virtual expert. And what ControlUp is suggesting to us now is to go into these different views so we can actually see what's going on. So we can actually try to troubleshoot this issue. So if I click on this, ControlUp is going to tell us what we're troubleshooting. Data store rewrite IOPS issue on the VM host 1. It's telling us, and it's highlighted the column of interest that's having this particular problem. So it's highlighted the data store rewrite IOPS, and these are all live updates. So these metrics are being updated in real time. And then underneath, it's showing all the machines on this host. So on this host, we've got one VM in particular, Tools 2012 VM, where he's running at 20,300 IOPS. So if I go and right click on this object now, I can take a management action on him. So what I can do is I can just do some basic stuff, maybe RDP to the server to see what's going on. I can manage the file system, registry, and programs remotely through the ControlUp controllers interface. Same with managing services. I can start a process on the system as a user. I can do a power management action. Maybe rebooting the server is going to solve this problem. Or I can even do it through the hypervisor itself, through a hypervisor management action. But since I don't know what the problem is, I'm going to continue drilling down. So I'm going to click back on the little hamburger, and virtual expert's going to suggest to me we go to the sessions view. And here in the sessions view, we can see that I've got, it's highlighted the column of interest, the virtual disk read IOPS. And we can see it's got this one user here, and it's highlighted his IO read IOPS as a particular point of interest. That might be our pain point. And so if I right click on this object now, I can do additional management actions. So now it's context sensitive to a session action. So we're getting this data now through an agent-based installation that's on your Citrix servers or on your VM servers or something like that. So if I right click on this, I can get all the different management actions we can do. So I can get a session screenshot so we can see what's going on with this user. I can kill group policy, refresh group policy, reapply group policy. I can sort of process in this user session, or I can do something like maybe log off this user if I think that's going to solve this problem. But again, I'm the kind of guy who wants to find out exactly what's going on. So if I click on this hamburger again, I can click on go to processes view, and it will take me into his session and show me what processes he's actually running. And so we can see for this user session, the in-out rewrite IOPS is now 20,000 still, and it's highlighted the column of interest that thinks is causing this particular problem for this user. So IO read operations per second. And we can see that it's this one process that's causing our issue, dynamo.exe. So if I right click on dynamo.exe, I get another contextual menu that's sensitive to this object, which is processes. And so for processes, again, I can get a session screenshot, I can RDB to the machine, or I can end the process, kill the process, set process affinity, set the priority, throttle the process so we can limit the amount of CPU can be consuming. Or again, I can send a message to the user or execute one of our script actions to see if we can't get more information as to what's going on. So what I'm going to do, because I'm still unsure what dynamo.exe is, I'm going to get a session screenshot here, and it's going to show me what the user is running in their session. So they're running a program called IOmeter, which quick Google search tells me that it's a storage performance benchmarking type software where it'll tell you the underlying performance of your storage. So undoubtedly, this user has went and started this piece of software and has left this running, probably inadvertently. So at this point, we want to take corrective action, whether that's reaching out to the user or actually just executing an action here if it's causing some kind of severity or some kind of critical impact in our environment. We can just end the process and then just continue on. So this is how ControlUp can help you troubleshoot in a nutshell. Since my time is limited and I want to get into some of the more advanced stuff that we can do with iGel, I'm going to just jump straight into that. So what we can do is, if you're looking on our left side here, this is our tree view. So we've got all of our different environments. Obviously, we were introduced to the hypervisor, but we can also monitor your Citrix or Horizon environments as well. And one of the features that we have in ControlUp is we have the ability to monitor Linux devices, and iGel is a Linux device. And so what I've done is we've created a Linux data collector. We've added our iGel devices to the Linux data collector, and let's see what we get. So if I focus on iGel here, and I'm going to select the machine objects that I want to view, we can see all of our different iGel devices. So one of the cool things about ControlUp is it has this grouping feature. So if you have, hundreds of devices here, you can actually just drag a column up to the top and it'll sort them all automatically. So iGel has just come out with a new version of their iGel OS, 11.03.580, which adds support for the WVD Spring release update. And we can see that we actually have two devices ready to go that is actually on this version of the operating system. And you can see we've got other groups of operating systems that we need to probably update to this particular version. So we can, in a very quick real-time glance, get this immediate report as to what the current state of our environment is. And this is, again, this is real time. So this is super fast. This is as your environment exists today. And so one of the things we can see is that our WVD machine seems to be under some kind of stress. And so it's consuming 53% of the CPU. It's consuming 166 megabits per second of network utilization. And so if I double click on him, what ControlUp does is it now drills into the device. And so now we can actually see what's going on. And what's happening is that it looks like this user is probably connected to um, their Citrix environment, their WVD environment, or their VMware environment. In this particular one, it's running the iGel RDP3 process. It's consuming 24% of the CPU. And if we look at the executable path, we can see it's WVD. So very clearly, this user is running a WVD session that's consuming quite a bit of resources. And what we can do to find out who is consuming all these resources, we can, of course, go back up and we'll just focus on the root of our environment. Click on sessions. And if we type that machine name, we can actually find the client name here. So if we look at the client name, we can see that there's the iGel 4 WVD, and we can see that on their WVD session themselves, they're only consuming about 7% CPU utilization. Their bandwidth is about 7 megabits of consumed resource utilization. So now you can see ControlUp is monitoring from the iGel endpoint all the way into your WVD session. And if I right click on this particular user, I can, again, get a session screenshot, and this will actually show me what he's doing. So it looks like he's watching some YouTube video that is causing quite a bit of our CPU utilization and our network utilization. So this makes some sense as to what could be going on. And again, if I wanted to, I could drill into this particular session and I can sort by like CPU, and we can see that he's running like Microsoft Edge. So if we go back to the session view, and he's running Microsoft Edge. So if I want, what I can do is if I go back to my iGel devices here and focus on machines, and let's go back to them. So what I can do is if I ControlUp doesn't just monitor devices, we can actually take management actions on them. So if I click on this little hamburger icon, it gives me a list of script actions I can run, which allows us to do some kind of management tasks. So I can list the assigned profiles, I can send wake up commands, get machine details, or update the configuration from the UMS. So if I click on Shadow Terminal here, it's going to ask me for my path to the iGel UMS and my path to a VNC executable that I can run. So if I click OK, and what ControlUp's going to do is it's going to execute a VNC session where I can now shadow that particular user and see what they're doing from their iGel devices. So we can see that he's running, Microsoft Edge, and he's running the Tonight Show. So it looks like he's watching some kind of video, which is probably a no-no. So we'll probably put an end to that fairly shortly. So that's how ControlUp can help give visibility into how your iGel endpoints are actually performing. So 51% of the CPU utilization. If they're getting good performance, then you know that you're relatively okay. But if they were to stress it anymore, you might run into some other problems. And with iGel being able to add additional custom partitions to do additional features, if I was running Zoom on my iGel device, and if it was consuming 60% or 70%, and then I was trying to run um, this WVD environment, then we could already see that I'm out of resources. I have that resource contention, which you would not have visibility to without a tool like ControlUp. So what I'm going to do now is I want to show another highlight of how ControlUp can help you with your iGel environment. So um, what we're going to look at is I'm going to connect into another machine. I'm going to connect into this guy. and we're just looking at his CPU here. So this is this particular user. So Citrix has a very powerful feature called browser content redirection that allows remote websites to offload their processing to your local device. So that way you're not doing a lot of processing on your Citrix servers. So this prevents, a lot of additional CPU load that could be happening on your Citrix servers. So now you can increase the density or the number of users on your Citrix boxes by offloading that browser redirection. But what is the impact on the endpoint? Without a product like ControlUp, you would be blind to this. So what I've got now is I've got my browser content redirection enabled, um, and I'm just going to go to a website that's going to pass its content off to me, and we can see that because the Citrix icon here goes green. It's going to take a minute to load up, so it's going to now connect in. We'll see on the iGel device underneath here that we'll have 2 additional processes start up. And these are the processes that Citrix uses in order to upload what's happening on this website to your device. So with browser content redirection enabled, we can immediately see, boom, that there are 2 processes that are consuming significant amount of CPU resources. So WebKit web process and WebKit network process. We can see the paths that they're actually being executed from, and we can see the amount of resource utilization that they're consuming on your iGel devices. And so if you enable this type of feature and you see that your CPU is going through the roof on your iGel devices, and it's actually degrading the performance of your iGel devices, the question in the past might have been, okay, is this because this iGel device is like an ARM device? Is it because it's an Intel device? Does it have, hardware capabilities to offload video, H.264, H.265, and so on and so forth? So what we can see is we can actually monitor that now with ControlUp, and actually see the impact of that on your iGel devices. So we think this is really powerful, and this is a really impressive way of actually getting the information that you want from your iGel devices, and all the way from, obviously, from a Citrix session through a WVD session through a VMware Horizon VDI session as well. So I'm going to go back to machines here. I'm just going to stop my sorting. And one of the additional things we can do, so touching on the management actions, is if I select a bunch of the devices, and if I go to our recommended action here, I can actually get things like list assigned profiles. And so if I do that, ControlUp's going to reach out to the iGel UMS server, pass all of these devices to the UMS, and then it's going to pull back that information. So now we can immediately generate a report on how our devices are doing. So obviously we saw some configuration differences between the operating system. So is there other pieces of information that's missing, right? Are you getting inconsistent experiences across your iGel devices? Can you VNC into one but not into the other, as an example? So what we can see is we've got one device, and he's got a bunch of different profiles assigned to him. And if we look at other groupings, we can see here's 4 devices. They've got another different set of profiles, and we've got a 5th device that, again, has an additional set of profiles. So just by quickly looking at this, we're able to determine why there's inconsistencies in our environment. And ControlUp gives us that power and flexibility right at our fingertips, just in seconds. And now we can start to resolve those particular issues immediately. So we think that's pretty cool. We think that's pretty great. And that's a lot of what we offer with our ControlUp iGel integration. So in order to enable this integration, there are some management packs that or a management pack that you download from controlup.com. Our ControlUp integration looks like this. You add it as a profile, and it's a custom partition. So if we go to for more customization, custom partition, new as of I think last month, so May, is you add /custom as opposed to /controlup. And by doing /custom, we're now a friendly player within the rest of the custom partition spaces. iGel only allows one custom partition to be mounted, so when we had /controlup in the past, we usurped everything. But now with /custom, we play nicely. And then obviously you specify your download from your UMS device for the ControlUp INF, and you add just our files to your iGel UMS here, and then that's it. Away you go. You apply it to your device, you reboot your device, and then you should start being able to connect in through ControlUp automatically and start being able to see these fancy and these very impressive metrics. So that is our iGel integration in a nutshell. It's all over SSH. The SSH connection has to be local. We don't do remote SSH over the IGL gateway device yet. Um, but as of today, we are able to monitor all your IGL devices that are local. So if you're at a hospital or something like that, where you've got these thin clients everywhere, ControlUp can provide you a lot of value there. And then lastly, what we can also offer above that and everything else is that if we right click on this and if we go to ControlUp Insights, we can actually see the historical performance of our iGel devices. So we think this is really powerful in that you can actually, if you've got change management controls and if you can reflect back on a date where something happened in particular, you might be able to actually pinpoint when something happened. So, for instance, looking at this, we can see that for this particular iGel device, iGel 4WVD, he was consuming a lot of CPU utilization for quite some period of time. If we click on it, of course, we can see all the different CPU breakdowns, but it was always around 60% or so. And then something happened on June 8th. So potentially some kind of change happened, some kind of policy happened, maybe an update to the IGL OS happened. And that's what allowed the CPU utilization to actually drop and actually come back and give us back some resources. So we can actually see what the impact of those policy changes are. So we think that's really powerful from a historical perspective. So if you do, iGel operating system upgrades, you'll be able to actually look back on what those devices were, and if you can just, correlate the date that you do that, you can actually measure the impact that maybe an operating system update has in your environment on your iGel devices. So we think that's really powerful. So I'm just going to switch back to the presentation now. And so thank you all very much for being here. I much appreciate having your time here. You can download it off of our website. There's no gating there that's going to prevent you from downloading it. You can just enter an email address or so, and then you hit the download button, and then you get it automatically. You don't need to set up a call with a salesperson. You don't need to have someone tell you that you need to stand up 3 servers or something like that ahead of time. You can just download the executable. Like I said before, it's a portable app. Double click it, add your hypervisors in first, and then you can start rolling out agents to different devices where you want to see more advanced metrics and more advanced management actions. And then away you go. 21 days, it's completely unlocked and free. And then after that, it's locked for 50 sessions. So if you're a home labber, you can actually use ControlUp indefinitely in your home labs, as long as you maintain 50 sessions or computer objects underneath that to be monitored. So we think that's pretty impressive and pretty cool too. So thank you so much. And download ControlUp off of www.controlup.com and give it a try. We think you'll be very impressed with what we offer. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of iGel Disrupt 2020.